Fallout 4, the ShipBreaker out in Far Harbor. Okay, with this thing, there's so many different things that I've seen and read about the unique enemy called the ShipBreaker, a unique frog crawler. And I didn't really have any issues with taking it out, but finding it and getting it to spawn up was its own thing. And what you're going to see is what had happened is I was up at the Dalton farm, and I did read that either one of your farms, whether it's the Echo Lake Lumber or the Dalton farm, that just one of the people out there will tell you about this. And this was before Echo Lake, the little chick, Small Bertha, will tell you about going out and clearing that, the quest. I can't think of the name right now, but she gives you a quest to go out there to clear out the lumber yard, and that's a settlement. But anyway, I was out at the Dalton farm, and the guy's like, hey, did you ever hear of this ShipBreaker, blah, blah, blah. So that started the quest, and I had Longfellow with me, and then he'll prompt to talk to him. So what happens is I talk to this guy, and he gives up the quest, the ShipBreaker, and then after that, it'll pop up the quest, the ShipBreaker, and then go talk to Longfellow. But what had happened was I saw the marker up there, and I wasn't really ready to deal with this, so I wanted to go back to Sanctuary to get some weapons that I had stashed. So I went back out to the Commonwealth and came back, and then the little marker was gone. So after I talked to this guy out in the Dalton farm, the marker is up after I get done speaking to Longfellow right north of on the northern part of the island. There you can see the marker there before I go to the Commonwealth. But when I come back, the marker's gone, and I must have ran around the whole island. No shit. I went everywhere, and the radio signal just didn't pop up. So it is very possible to after you do that quest for Small Bertha that it's not going to pop up. And then I just reloaded the game previous to this spot, and then this little thing out in Dalton Farm never happened again. So I just went off and played the game, and then when I did the mission for little Bertha, Small Bertha, whatever her name is, and I was out running around and I reloaded the game there, the mission popped up, a little radio signal came in, but we'll get into that. So right here we're going to get into what the guy at Dalton Farm says, and then we'll kind of chime in and out. Okay, so here we are at Dalton's farm, and then I was just walking around. I just got done setting up the area, made some water purifiers, generators, and this guy starts talking to me about this.
I've never heard of this ShipBreaker.
Haven't heard of it yet. Biggest and meanest fog crawler on the island. Wiliest one, too. He calls her ShipBreaker. Been tracking her for years, but so far she's been too wily to catch.
How do you know this thing is nearby?
Old Longfellow eventually noticed that when this monster is close, radios go kind of haywire. He calls her ShipBreaker. Been tracking her for years, but so far she's been too wily to catch.
Just tell me how to find this ShipBreaker and I'll take care of her.
Well, it may not be as simple as all that. Old Longfellow's been tracking this beast for years, and he's never gotten her yet. Maybe you'll have more luck. At least he's figured out a way to tell when she's in the neighborhood. If you tune the radio on that fancy Pip-Boy of yours to the right frequency, you'll pick up a strange squealing sound when she's nearby. Longfellow says it's something to do with the radiation she gives off after so many years in the fog. Yeah, you may want to talk to old Longfellow himself if you're serious about tracking down this monster.
Okay, so that pops up the quest, and there's a marker just east of this area, but it's on the northern part in the ocean. And I believe if you went there, it would most likely say that the frog crawler left the area or something. And everybody that I've seen mention that when it spawns up, it's pretty much in the center swamp areas. And when it finally popped for me, that's where it was, just west of the Echo Lake Lumber settlement. And we'll get into that later in the video, but you talk to Longfellow and you'd be like, she's back, and named her the ShipBreaker.
Excuse me.
What can I do? It would seem more sense to me that the thing would be in the ocean.
I hear that you've been trying.
Not a whole lot of ships out there in the swamp.
Ancient fog crawler?
That's right. ShipBreaker, I call her. Wily old beast. I put all the harbormen on the lookout for her. I expect they've told you about how to use the radio to tell when she's nearby. I figure that fancy portable radio you've got strapped to your wrist should do the trick.
I didn't really understand how you can track this fog crawler with a radio.
Well, it started when I noticed people's radios weren't working right when I was checking out a sighting of her. Figured out quick it was more than a coincidence. Couldn't say what the radios are picking up from her, but it's something. Maybe all them years she spent in the fog are causing her to give off a signal that interferes with radio waves. The why of it don't much matter to me. What does matter is that it works.
No time like the present. Let's find her.
Lead the way.
Okay, so like I
She
said, the
won't slip
marker
away
is
this
just
time.
east of here, but it's up in the ocean. You'll get a quick look at it before I jump over to the Commonwealth. And like I said, I wanted to go back to the Sanctuary to get some different weapons, but when I came back, that marker was gone. And the odds are that if I didn't reload the game at a different spot, if I went to that marker, it most likely would have said that it left the area. And whether or not it would have spawned up or not, I don't know. But here we are at the Echo Lake Lumber place. It's our settlement. I've got the place kind of set up a little bit. Anyway, I saved the game here and then went off looking for the ShipBreaker, and it never popped up. So I reloaded the game, and when it came up, all of a sudden the radio frequency popped up.
Always happy to help
Then
you
all of a
out.
sudden, one of the settlers will just come in and start telling us the same story we heard from the other
It's
guy.
downright disturbing. No other way to say it.
That was all I had.
Right then.
I don't know if you've heard of that fog crawler that old Longfellow's been hunting, but we think she might be somewhere nearby. He calls her ShipBreaker. Been tracking her for years, but so far she's been too wily to catch.
She's back, eh? Good. Maybe this time I can finally take her down.
I've never heard of this ShipBreaker.
Haven't heard of her yet? The biggest and meanest fog crawler on the island. Wiliest one, too. He calls her ShipBreaker. Been tracking her for years, but so far she's been too wily to catch.
She's back, eh? Good. Maybe this time I can finally take her down.
Just tell me how to find this ShipBreaker and I'll take care of her.
Well, it may not be as simple as all that. Old Longfellow's been tracking this beast for years, and he's never gotten her yet. Maybe he'll have more luck. Or at least he's figured out a way to tell when she's in the neighborhood. If you tune the radio on that fancy Pip-Boy of yours to the right frequency, you'll pick up a strange squealing sound when she's nearby. Longfellow says it's something to do with the radiation she gives off after so many years in the fog.
Alright, so we talked to Longfellow again, and it's basically the same thing we heard before.
Go on. New orders, Captain?
But this
I
time
hear
we
that
got
you've
the
been
radio
trying
frequency
for
up.
years to track down an ancient fog crawler?
That's right. ShipBreaker, I call her. A wily old beast. I've put all the harbormen on the lookout for her. Like they said, you could use a radio to tell when she's nearby.
I didn't really understand how you can track this fog crawler with a radio.
Well, it started when I noticed people's radios weren't working right when I was checking out a sighting of her. Figured out quick it was more than a coincidence. Couldn't say what the radios are picking up from her, but it's something. Maybe all them years she spent in the fog are causing her to give off a signal that interferes with radio waves. The why of it don't much matter to me. What does matter is that it works.
No time like the present. Let's find her.
Lead the way. She won't slip away this time.
Okay, so this time around I made sure I was going to save the game. But like I said, this time I do have the radio frequency. I cannot comment what would have happened the first time the thing popped up. If I went to the marker and the radio frequency would have came up and spawned her in a different area. But one thing is true, I've read a lot that this Echo Lumber Company, the quest for this, it somehow triggers this. So uh, I guess it's true. I don't know to say. It's just after I did this, I saved the game here. Like I said, I set up the settlement a little bit, saved the game, went off and looked for the shipbreaker, and nothing happened. And then when I reloaded it back to this part, it just spawned up. And I did read that the crawler could spawn up in a couple different areas, so I went off to the east side of the swamp here to kind of go look for it. And then when you do find it, there was like a lot of other enemies there, so I kind of got jacked up. I'm all geared up, ready for a big fight, but when I get there, the only thing that's there is the shipbreaker, and level 91 or 90 or something, I don't know. A lot of the videos have said, you know, you need to be, you know, level 75 to be taking them on or whatever, but it's all relevant to, you know, your weapons and what you got geared. I've seen somebody take it out with one hit with a melee thing. I don't know, it's like he had a sword or something, and he did like this leaping jump and one swat with it took her out. But I don't really have too much trouble. I got my unique spray and pray Thompson machine gun here, and my explosives are kind of maxed out too. And I don't know, out in Far Harbor, these gulpers and anglers and all that, they could put a hurting on you. So a couple unique weapons that I got, I kind of pretty much take it to them. So anyway, I got my gun up and I'm all jacked up. I'm ready for a fight. So I'm heading out to where, now a couple times I did see different people fight this shipbreaker in this swamp area. But one thing's for sure, if that radio frequency doesn't pop up, then the odds of you coming across it are slim. So basically made it out to the swamp area, and I had seen a couple different other people fight this shipbreaker in this particular area, so might be a common area for it to spawn up. But I'm not seeing any other enemies out here, just the shipbreaker. So the one thing about this spray and pray gun, it does do some damage in Vast, but it's more effective outside of Vast.
That'll teach you.
I don't know, the thing never got close to me. I just lit it right up. So go out, loot its body, and then Longfellow will give you the unique harpoon gun as well.
Hey.
Make it quick, will you?
We're standing in a swamp,
can I
good
do
place
for
for
you,
a
Captain?
conversation.
You can rest easy now that Shipbreaker is dead.
Don't know about resting easy, but it's one less thing to worry about. Funny thing is, happy as I am that she's gone, I think I'm gonna miss her in a way. Walking in the fog will be a bit less interesting now. But I don't have to wonder if she might be lurking behind the next rock. Kept me on my toes, she did. For that, I'm grateful, in spite of the sorrow she visited on the island. Here, you may as well have my trusty old harpoon gun. I was saving it for delivering the killing blow to Shipbreaker. But now you should have it.
All right. I'll probably put that in a crate. Never gonna really use it, but it is what it is, and that takes care of the shipbreaker. I think you ought to get a little more XP for that, but whatever, man. I was just glad to get it done and over with. When the first quest came up, I ran around this whole island and I was blasting everything in my path, and the little radio frequency never came up. But that's the shipbreaker.